we go. All right. Well, Dieter, great to have you on, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. Yeah.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Healthcare Growth Cycle Podcast, episode 3 now, featuring Dieter Herbst, Chief Executive Officer of the Herbst Group, digital transformation consulting agency. And, there's a lot of overlap in the pharmaceutical, healthcare sectors that we both play in. And formerly, Dieter, you've worked in F100 pharmaceutical companies as head
Yes.
of growth for certain divisions,
Yeah.
scaling up those companies, certain divisions. So it's just an awesome opportunity to get to have you on here to talk about, how you've successfully grown and scaled healthcare companies specific to pharmaceutical, in the pharmaceutical space. And yeah, all that you're here.
Good. So just thank you. Number one, you're an inspiration. I think you have changed our business in the last 35 days. I think I started following your posts and it really resonated with me. And you mentioned a few tactics of and beliefs on how you go to market and what you are comfortable to say online. I've followed suit, and it has been the most busiest 2 weeks of my corporate life in
It's
terms
crazy.
of new clients. But the point is, thank you to you, and it's just those core concepts that forms a real belief from your past. So yes, spent my life in pharmaceuticals, about 20 years, and a few years back. Had the opportunity to take a sabbatical for 8 months, and I decided I never want to work in data again or in
Wow.
pharmaceuticals, and just do something completely different. But I underestimated the value of experience and context, and probably the most important thing would be relationships and what that empowers.
Yeah, so walk us through the journey. You're getting started in pharmaceutical sales specifically. Like, where'd you go out of college? What'd you study in college? I'd like to learn a little bit more about that
Okay, great.
path.
Interesting story. I was studying to become a psychologist, and my wife or fiance at that stage said, "Stop this now. You can study, you can do distance learning, and stop being a waiter." I really enjoyed waitering in
Okay.
Stellenbosch in South Africa, beautiful place if you ever visit. And it was for a Pfizer rep position that she applied for me that I didn't want to go to. I was an hour late for the interview, so I phoned the recruiter to say I'm not going to make it. She said, "No, come." And those were the days before GPS. So that would have been 2003, 2004. And the next morning, I was a rep for Pfizer. Didn't enjoy that too much. Thought I would lose my job every day because I had no communication on how I'm doing versus other reps. I think I spoke to my manager twice for the year, so I was working blind, anxious, depressed, convinced I'm going to lose my job. That December, got a call to fly to Johannesburg, where I'm based now, and it was a nice event. And rep of the year was Dieter Hat.
Okay.
So in complete darkness and blindness, I was actually doing good. And from there, my passion to really enable reps. From there, I became a sales manager at a French multinational for 5 years in the beautiful Western Cape and the coast of South Africa. Um, Data started interesting me. I taught myself some things in ClickView, basically to challenge the business operations or business excellence department at head office on why our targets are wrong as sales managers and reps. And that caught the attention of a lady with the name Kirsten Grant that headed up SFE globally. And she
Okay.
said, "Oh, you smart ass. Why don't you just join my team?" And then it was a year of 10 years, or a period or season of doing various analyst roles, um, taking over leadership, trade and revenue, and really understanding and learning the South African healthcare landscape. It became more regulated in time, and yeah, that's how I ended here. Just interesting thing. Our company is 1,040 days old today. Um, Milan, our client success manager, just phoned me before are into action to say, can you believe we just did invoice number 500? So it's invoice every
Wow.
second day. I still don't know how that happens. Where we are today is we have about 25 clients, of which most are in pharmaceuticals. Uh, I have a team of 10. And how I want to bridge that to just your previous question on the journey is most of my team worked in my team in my multinational job. So these are relationships that forged over a very long time. So as our clients' demands escalated, I called on ex-colleagues who were all over the industry in different cool roles. And yeah, the band is back together today.
Wow. When you were scaling at the pharmaceutical companies that you worked at, what were some of the biggest bottlenecks to growth as a sales leader?
Such a good question. I would firstly like to say I believe I'm still scaling and I'm still learning. And I think there's a really long way to go. I think it's probably mindset and anxiousness. So I think it's an internal type of thing because every client call or potential message has a jolt because you have so little clients that it could mean the end of your professional existence if something goes wrong. With that comes anxiousness and uncertainty and those type of things, and your behavior has a big impact there. I look now. Had the privilege of presenting to a large sales group yesterday at a multinational where we're getting very involved in their territory setup and those type of things. My mindset's completely different because there's not this massive threat hanging over my head. So of cash flow and you know this
I know
cash
that's real.
flow and getting started and risk or what will your competitors do? So I believe it's a mindset thing. Um, I think we are mostly skilled, learning every day, but I would say the primary contributor would be mindset, and just not being fearful of your of risk.
I love it. So staying anxious, like really staying alert and aware is
Yeah,
one of the big pieces to growth, especially when running a sales division at a pharmaceutical company. Like, what are some leadership tips? I'm just curious. Like, let's dive into that a little bit more. It's the Healthcare Growth Cycle podcast. We're interviewing sales and executive leaders. Like, how did you manage a full team? Like, what did that even feel like when you
yeah,
started managing a full team at
yeah,
one of the Fortune 100s that you were at?
yeah. I think there's a before and after for me. So one of the F100s had a significant team, and now I have a significant team again, just outside of that, but being fully responsible for them. And I think the contrast is quite stark. So in the corporate environment, very much of your leadership is dictated, culture, values, and so forth, and you almost have to adapt to the strategy of the board, the global board, and you get used to that. With that comes politics. With that comes some domain control and all of the normal fun corporate stuff. Whereas on the outside, the contrast to me now is we walk into a political environment and we can step away. It's like playing with someone's grandkids or your own grandkids. When they get difficult, you hand them off to the parents and you go again. So what are the learnings in that? So um, I think trust and transparency and joy and kindness, as simple as that may sound. I came from a very aggressive environment, and I was very aggressive. So leadership by fear and intimidation. That was the environment, and now it's just like you can move so much more if there's joy and if there's kindness in things that you do on a daily basis, and then just transparency. So transparency with your team, which is not always possible in a corporate environment, and then facilitating trust with your client. And I think joy, kindness, trust, transparency would be the yeah the the golden plat of everything coming together. Yeah,
I resonate with that well. I mean, that's one of the core values is
mm,
like transparent candor
yeah,
um, at Standard Analytics. So I really appreciate hearing
mm,
that that's one of the core reasons
mm.
that you're able to scale. with your team. Cool. As far as metrics go, dashboards, whether in your own consulting agency or running sales teams, what kind of metrics and dashboards typically are you looking at? Is it a lot of revenue by sales rep? What walk us
Okay,
through that a
so
little bit.
but this might stimulate me, just quiet me down if I go too long. So,
No, you're good.
firstly, the shoemaker's shoes are broken or dilapidated usually. So I was sitting in a meeting yesterday in a call, and I wanted to know the revenue of one of our clients and what their monthly fee is, and I have no system to check that. So that's all still manual in QuickBooks, but for um, $500 million organizations in South Africa, we control every single metric, and it's available at the click of a button. So let me start there. So from an internal point of view, we're in startup mode, so metrics change on a daily basis. We're implementing ISO now. Client feedback, those type of things are important, and then all important revenue and cash flow and so forth. But for clients, is the biggest part is, I love your posts on the definition of net revenue, or the definition of excluding value added tax or including value added tax. In South Africa, we have a concept called single exit price, which is through the entire value line, the price of a product needs to remain the same. And then there would be logistics fees and complicated mechanisms. So metrics at this stage is just, are you making the number? What is the number? We help to get you to the number, and we track religiously against that number and the definition of that. My real passion would be in Salesforce KPIs. And this is simple, but it's really
There it
difficult to
is.
do, is, are you calling on the right customer at the right frequency, using the right channel, delivering the right message? So that's what the entire business is built upon. It is really difficult to achieve. And what do you track there? So you can call it what you want, is how many interactions per day versus the metric. And lots of our work goes into defining that metric. One of the things that really has my attention, and I would encourage you with your clients' data sets to look at this. Most would have internal data sets. So where to do they distribute? And you can see which brands or SKUs a specific customer acquired over a set period. So you can rapidly see you've got how many states, or how many, I don't know the geographical split down of the US. In South Africa, it would be provinces. Is, why do we have province A or state one where 80% of customers are stocking a brand, and for the same brand it's 7% in a different one? So usually just that awareness where people can say,
Wow.
good, so what's distribution like? And then you get to range. So of our customers, what's the breadth of the range? And those two simple concepts are mind-blowingly empowering, especially where you don't have access to external market data. So one of the posts I made recently was, CFOs has a built-in bias, and executives have a bias to not make a decision until they have all of the data. So people get stuck on 75%. And what you can do these days, especially with large language models, just using internal historical data, is astounding. So often clients would come to us to say, we have no idea what the competitor is doing. We don't need to know what the competitor is doing. We can see what the behavior of a pharmacy or a HCP was over time, just looking at history, and make certain assumptions there and then execute upon that. So KPIs and metrics, many. My favorites for now would just be range, distribution, and are we calling on the right customers at the right frequency with discipline?
Really well said. Yeah. I know, like the geographic analysis, like what percentage of customers for, a lot of Central Ohio clients would be, what percentage of customers are in certain states within the
Yeah.
Midwestern United States,
Mhm.
that are, most of our clients would be serving, the Midwest region of the US. Yeah. It's great. Um,
But just a thing on that is, often we think that these things are known. Is when you do data well for an organization, this is my favorite moment. We take all of your data, we do it well, and that comes from experience. And this is all we do for pharma and insurance clients. And it's structured in a way that when people see it for the first time on the projector board, it's not someone in the audience saying the data is wrong. So that's my biggest fear, by the way. So the data is wrong, and the meeting flips over. But where there's trust in what was done and the insights that are formed there, you would think it's very logical, or I thought, my mistake is, it's very logical for people to know that in some regions brands do much better than in other regions, but the excuse is
Sure.
that cycle meeting or the sales conference is exactly the same. So it becomes a soundbite and it becomes the truth for everyone. But if you look at the data and it's trusted by everyone, it's eye-opening and inspirational. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, getting everyone on the same page. Yeah, that's great. Great call out. What yeah, how do you see technology with AI specifically? We got to talk about AI
Mm,
changing the way for healthcare leaders as they approach revenue cycle. And I mean, I think you've kind of just talked about this a little bit with the LLMs. Um, Beyond LLMs too, I mean, maybe training their own data. Like, how do you see AI kind of changing
mm.
um,
So
the healthcare industry?
it's a good question. I think, where does one start? So just for the last 6 weeks, we've changed our um, LLM subscriptions. I go through phases. I pitch up at the office, and then everyone's using Notion, and until we no longer use Notion, and then we use something else. So I'm driving my team crazy. But if you look at what's possible, and I'll speak about Anthropic and Claude, in terms of really keeping memory and context in a specific isolated project or container. It's astounding. 4 weeks
Context
back,
environment.
it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
A few weeks back, we said, well, we spend weeks on segmenting customers and really understanding what's the business and the strategy and so forth. And with the help of the CTO, we basically load mammoth amount of flat data into a specific secure enterprise level secure container, and we start
Yeah.
giving it context little by little. And the thing that is astounding is I can sit, which I did yesterday, with the general manager of very significant company saying, wow, I really think there's an opportunity for A, B, and C. It's like, let's have a look. And you can ask the question based on the context that it has. And where that astounds me, it's not old, yes, it's viable or not. It's viable. This is the methodology. Here are the supporting files, plus the supporting files and the financial case for the CFO. So that to me opened my eyes in the last few weeks. So imagine what it can do if a CEO or GM has trust in what he's asking and he understands the context that is built there. There are no more sound bites of people saying, yeah, it's a slow month for the market. That's a common thing we hear. It's a slow month, or consumers are depressed. So that's why we haven't made budget. Let's see. So
Yeah.
answering those type of things in the moment and having trust in what you're looking at, I think I would be reckless to say how it would look in the next few years, because I've underestimated the rate of change so badly.
Yeah.
So probably bigger and better than we can think, which brings us back to what your colleagues and my colleagues are posting on often, is all of this is possible with good data governance
I was
and
just gonna
real
ask. Yeah. It's like, how do you
really
ensure
having
that per client? Yeah.
that in space. Quick story today. So this client we saw yesterday, very significant client. I'll speak to you about that offline one day. Is they do distribution, they do market access, and everything involved. There's one topic that the new CEO is really interested in, and I believe it's a good topic. It kept me awake until 12 last night, just adding more data. And this morning I phoned our CTO and I said, look, This is the idea. Can you give me A, B, C, D, E, F, G? So Wimpy de Toey is our CTO, good friend, drummer, legend, is at the end of the 5-minute call where he knew exactly what I wanted, which is in my inbox already. I said, you understand that our success is the ability for you and I to communicate in a specific way and to transfer that amount of information. So he knows exactly what is required. It is in a data warehouse, structured in such a way that export is immediately available in the format that we require, less than 31 megabytes, CSV for Claude, that we automatically split into various segments. That just enables us to do feedback to the client what would have taken 8 weeks in the past. So CSV Claude with context, with kind of my brain in a markdown file
Eight
that
weeks.
that
Yeah.
goes into Gamma app, just to design a presentation so that it's palatable and digestible for whoever's looking at that. So I think what Wimpy did from the beginning is just to build for scale. So knowing and believing in the vision when I didn't, that we will have multiple clients. We might have hundreds, and certain principles would need to apply across everyone while having tenants to manage data security protocols. So back to your question, where will AI be and what impact does that have on the executive in future? Um, it depends on the quality of your data. And
And
I
the
think
size of
you're,
the, yeah,
yeah, and I don't know if the market is in a place where data governance and the importance of that is fully integrated into the DNA of leadership. And
it's tough. Yeah.
I think you play a role there. Uh, and I
Yeah.
think, oh,
I'm trying to, it's the more I'm getting into it, the more you talk about governance, it's like the less it resonates. Like it almost needs to just be a natural part of a
yeah,
data team's
yeah,
process.
yeah.
And I've even been under the understanding recently, talking to a lot of tenured data architects that have been in the space far longer than me, centralization and the data mesh doesn't work. And I think the phase, like data mesh has been kind of phasing out. And I think it can be pulled off if you have a company that's large and has, millions and millions of dollars thrown at these different disparate data teams. But I just see in the mid-market, at least for the clients of the size that, we're going after, my company specifically, it's like, I think centralization and owning that process and just naturally holding these meetings to help kind of administrate these governance conversations. And then you as the data team producing the assets that can be accessible to the stakeholders is what's going to work. But I'd be curious, so that data warehouse in that particular client example for A, B, C, D, E, F, G, et cetera, so forth, insights, they had they put in a ton of time, I'd assume, into building that data warehouse before you guys accessed it? Like, how did they know to point you to that particular data source? I guess,
So it's such a great question. And it goes down to the business model, and maybe there's value here. You've touched a few things, and I don't have a
sure.
but I'll try to remember. So our model is we go in, we diagnose and document. So we just speak to different individuals. The side effect of that is cross pollination. So I speak to Christian, then I speak to Joe, then I speak to Susan. I'm like, wow, they're all disconnected, but subtly get everyone on the same page. Just like, oh, Christian said this is his understanding. So firstly, there's that common understanding that starts getting together. Now, here's the interesting part. This specific client did not give us a data source. So, like, speak to finance, they've got transactional data over time. Then speak to a third party provider that collates all of our distribution data and our
Wow.
partnership data. Then speak to big consultancy that does that. So we sign NDAs with all of them. We bring all of that data together, and the core database is thus with us. So, which brings IP questions in there. So, good. The data is always yours. The processing of the data and bridging and bringing all of that together is what brings the value. So, um,
Wow.
kind of we're a bit punchy in terms of we will do things in this way and not in this way. You have to subscribe to this, and this is how we manage customer lists as a non-negotiable. not because it's our way or the highway. This enables so much more in terms of future integration, and sources for
Yeah,
integration is exploding. So just in this case, I think it for my market, it is not there's this database that was governed well and over time that doesn't exist.
internally. Yeah.
It
Wow.
doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So it is what you have, we understand. We construct a product master, customer master, and so forth in our way to serve your need ultimately. And in most cases, that would align
Yeah.
different departments quite well. And from there, the magic. So the we're kind of consultants. We understand your story, and I love you say A, B, C, D, and E, F, G, and whatever else. So one of the big four came to see us the other day, and they said, "You know what you guys do really well? We do A, B, C, D well. So we diagnose the problem, we articulate the opportunity, we give you the plan, and then we leave. You guys stay." And you walk with clients through the rest. So we do that part in our way, but data first. Then we design the solutions, and we have not lost one client. So we have 25, and we solve a problem, and then we stay to maintain the data, the dashboards, the communication to the sales force, and the change management. And then also being the face between IT and the data people
Yeah.
and commercial. And I think you might be one of those unicorns, and I think you are one of those unicorns where sometimes a IT team or a database administrator is almost protective over his or her asset, and
Absolutely.
this is what's possible, and it's my system. And then you've got the CEO vision, and kind of a CTO that they brought in to look after IT, but you need a catalyst to bring all of this together to articulate the commercial value, but to also understand the technical foundation. And I look forward to what you will achieve in that space.
Yeah. Well, this is really profound because I was just going to ask you, to make it relevant for other healthcare leaders and CEOs and founders, it's like, could they do a data source creation where they're merging together, and conforming together all of these different data sources on their own? Like, where does the play come in that a consultant or a consulting agency would be beneficial? Well, you just said it, if I understood you correctly, that the egos, the politics internally, there's a lot of friction there when you have system owners internally versus you get a consultant from the outside. They can oversee everything laterally and then bring it together into a master data source.
The emotion. We got hurt really bad at the beginning of the business. So we had a CEO of, let's call it the three-letter company that really had a vision that worked with the team before. Signed contracts, we kicked off to service very specific pain points, but for very big, well-known organization in South Africa. And IT came in, and the guy in charge of IT said, "No, we've got SAP. They can do specific views, and we've budgeted for that and canned the entire project." So you that hurt bad because I've never experienced that before. So these days we make really sure that we have buy-in from all of the stakeholders. But the key thing is there needs to be a pain point. There needs to be readiness for change, and there needs to be buy-in from the very, very top. And what you said now stands out. Like an independent person that does, obviously, your bias would be you are paid for what you do. Is what
Right.
we do now is we say we have a thing called DIDOC. So give us access to your data. We give you a free opinion on what we see and your next steps. And with that, we generate a few insights because um, it's so difficult for a CEO today. He sits there, he or she sits there, and it's like, which channel, where are we bleeding margin? Sorry, we don't have that data. Or an analyst goes away for a few days, comes back with an answer, not really the right answer, and head of operations doesn't really agree with it. So the CEO is almost, it must be so frustrating to know it's possible, but we have data warehouse administrators say, F off. We have operations managers saying, this is not your domain, bugger off. as opposed to someone saying, "Good, I act in the interest of the organization and the CEO. Let's have a look at all of the data. What is possible?" And then, super
Yeah.
important is, I hate being called a data administrating company or a consultant. Call me an investment. So, from the beginning, imagine if you do this and A, B, and C, uh, then your upside is there. This is a good conversation with CFOs. So we like to be self-funding in 3 months, and in most cases we are, and in other cases that like really shoots the lights out. So I do
Yeah.
believe there is a deep understanding and a political awareness of what happens on the inside of an organization. Sometimes some stakeholders fear, so the unknown. AI will take my job. Um, Christian Steinert will take my job. I have a team of 4 analysts, and all of a sudden, things can be done in a few minutes or in an hour, and it's done well. So there's also a survival type of thing that we have to have empathy for and, yeah, appreciate.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Um, Man, yeah, the ego piece and just the politics at play internally, it's fascinating because I'm trying to relate it to like are, are most of your clients would you say enterprise versus like mid market or small? Like is that typically the clients you serve is enterprise?
So this is the beauty. I would say 30, 30, 30. So 30 would be enterprise, multinational, centrally controlled, trying to have centralized data somewhere in Europe or in Dubai.
Yeah.
And South Africa is usually deprioritized, and then that's where we jump in, and then ultimately interface with head office. The second tier would be kind of niche medical devices or consumables, and so forth. And then my favorite category, which is by no means the smallest one, is locally owned or local family owned businesses that has a
Wow.
history in South Africa that's really flourishing now because some of the
Yeah.
multinationals have decided to step out. So the mix is really good. And the insight to my learning is, it feels like I'm at 1% of learning by just seeing the market and data from so many perspectives and what's possible. And just the thing
Yeah.
in that space is, the more you see what's possible, the more confident, not arrogant, just confident and convicted you become, and what can be done with data if it is managed really well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Because I'm trying to think like when a client engages you, do they have a specific, like, analysis question that they're trying to answer, or could it be as simple as, "We just don't have good governance around our baseline metrics for revenue and net
Okay,
revenue,"
so
for
so so
example? Like, because that's typically what I'm seeing though, Dieter, is like, it's just they don't have any data warehouse built. They don't have any consolidated source of truth. There's 4 reports, with the same metric that are different. And so that's the problem or the pain that we're solving for. But it's like, how do you take that a layer farther? Because it sounds like your team has been able to do that and actually answer like forward thinking questions.
it's so good. So firstly, is they don't know what they don't know, and you don't know what you don't know, and I don't know what I don't know. So I've never had a call to say our reporting can improve, or I've got a reporting issue at all.
Okay.
It would be a problem, that a mammoth pain point, that my reps targets are just an absolute disaster. I have missed my number 3 quarters in a row, and I need assistance. And I think where multinationals or enterprises will say is, look at execution. How do you look at execution? Data. How do you get valuable metrics out of that good governance in data? So our entry
Wow.
point is there's a pain point. I've got unhappy
Yeah.
staff. I've got people that's overworked. This is my favorite topic. Just
Business pain point. Yeah.
sorry, new favorite topic is just the senior analyst with a really good salary, like earning more than, or let's say in the top 1% of the country, that sits
Right.
with Excel reports and cleaning data and doing that, and they're a business analyst or a strategic business analyst. So those people are absolutely exhausted. They're fighting fires and so forth, where they should be able to say, good, almost like with Claude, here's a data set. What questions can I ask, and
To actually analyze it.
what opportunities can I proactively take to the business? So we have a
Yeah.
case. It's published. It's with one of the big four for vetting. Is where we saved one company 50% of time of senior resources by implementing the data automation process. So something that took a team of 2 days every single week, and hellfire came down on them if they didn't produce it, is now done automatically, and the review process is 30 minutes for them before it goes into publication. So, and that's difficult when you do get to costing, is can you put a price on you paying X for senior resource that all of a sudden has 70% more capacity? But with
More
that, also
capacity.
then politics. If you take that manual work away from someone, there's
Then,
fear. There's fear. I'm no longer needed.
yeah,
Whereas the value
right.
proposition is just completely different. Yeah,
And it's an opportunity cost,
yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah, now they can
yeah,
allocate towards more strategic. I
yeah,
mean, we're doing a similar thing with one of our
yeah.
clients right now. Amazing. Yeah, I like the approach too, like, because I think typically our engagements have been very data centric problems, and I think I like that you approach it from a business centric problem, like a mammoth business centric, but it just always naturally folds back into a data problem. So leading with the business problem, but then understanding why it's a data problem and then delivering on that. That's an amazing approach. And that I think a lot of healthcare leaders can take a lot away from that. Um,
Would
yeah,
love
go
to
for
see. I would love to see. So number one, just to say again, I'm a big fan of your post. So let's say down the line of I've got four different metrics of the definition of net sales. Why is that problematic? There's something that comes before that is my regional VP or the global CEO is skinning me alive, and I don't know how to give answers because I've got four different sets of things. Or in my world, we're losing market share. We're bleeding market share. Why? So incentives are wrong, or rep motivation is wrong. Great. Let's go tackle that problem and understand it. And in all cases, it leads back to data or metrics, or the bridging of those data to metrics, to intelligence, to execution and strategy. So I think we together, we almost complete the pipe. I say humbly, I don't see the entire pipe, but I do think that data issue is triggered by a deep problem. And if we can speak to
yeah.
that problem and removing that friction, that's where real value is. Yeah.
Yeah, it almost starts from a data perspective. Why does the data silo begin in the first place? Well, people are trying to answer questions. Why are they trying to answer those questions so urgently that they're building their own individual reports that creates those
Spot
four
on.
different definitions, right?
Spot
That's
on.
amazing, Peter. No,
Okay.
this
So
is like an
that,
epiphany
okay.
moment for me.
To me too, but
Yeah.
that should be a post. So why are there four different? Let's pursue that. Why are there four
Yeah.
definitions of that?
We should collab on a
Because of
post. Yeah.
because of the analyst that doesn't have access to the tools, or doesn't trust the tools to the point of getting the data in the right place, so they create something on their own because of pressure, and there's a systematic problem
Because
and
of
all of that.
pressure.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
someone's not hitting sales
yeah.
for X amount of quarters
Yes,
and then yeah.
yeah.
I amazing. Yeah. I've just, and I've got like a list of questions, but I mean, I love where this conversation's been going, and I usually like to keep it around 30 minutes. I know we're at about like
I,
35, 40.
I think let's not go past this. I think
Sure.
we had a super build up to like a epiphany, and there's real value in
Yeah.
that epiphany. What I find super, I'm going to take my headphones off. What I find super interesting is just I see now where you are in terms of accessing market. So that picture has become more clear to me, and I still don't know why we do so well. And I think it's just that we can take your problem away. And we don't talk about data. We insist on certain things happening with data. So we charge for
Yeah. Yeah.
having a problem go away, not, yeah, managing data.